You're listening to a Galactic Network podcast.
The Podcast of Terror is a show with adult themes, run by adults, for adults. Please do not have your children listen to this show. It might be beneficial to them in the long run, but please wait until they are older. This is one of those things. It's like when you laugh when you're playing bingo and 069 comes up and you have a chuckle and your kitty says, Mommy, why are you laughing at 069? And the mommy says, when you're older. It's one of those kinds of things. Mommy, can I listen to Podcast of Terror? Sure, when you're older. This is a show with adult themes and some childish behavior. A lot of dick jokes. So please. If you want to avoid the swearing, if you want to avoid spoilers for your favorite horror movies, and if you want to avoid really, really lame, petty dick jokes, do not listen to this show. It is not for you.
Corey, how often do you wear a shirt?
Not as often as you would think.
Yeah, it's always nice to cover up your nipples, and maybe your neighbors are complaining because they're hairy. I know you wear shirts when we do these shows. That's about it, from what I understand.
It's more that I just give off a glare that blinds drivers by.
It is hot in California, so I assume that you sweat. There's a slight sheen to you, and the California sun just...
I don't even sheen. I Estevez.
That is... If you do not want to Estevez in public... We have two places in which you can go. We got two coupon codes to make your life a little cheaper. You can go visit frequent guest and friend of the show, Matt Vincent, his website, thehate.com. That's the HVIII.com. Use the coupon code HBG15 for 50% off your order. Maybe you hate him. I don't know. He's kind of a likable guy. But if you hate him and you want to go spend your money somewhere else, we got this other place. Go to statusfearmerch.com. Another sponsor of the show, friend of the show. He does all our artwork. He's a really nice guy. He does all the art for my band, except for the stuff that Corey's wife draws. Head over to statusfearmerch.com. Use the coupon code TERROR. Get you a little nice discount there.
Burn and fire, burn the fire. Burn and fire, burn the fire.
Welcome to episode 111 of the Podcast of Terror, a production of the Galactic Network. I'm your host, Matt Stein. With me, as always, is Corey Grease 3 Scott. Oh, your hair looks all shiny and slicked back. And
oh, okay. Grease 3 would actually be great. I am a cool writer, and look at me, I'm Sandra D.
See,
Actually, I've decided that if I ever did drag, which is not a goal, but something that I'm not adverse to, my lead song would be the Rizzo song. Oh crap, I can't even think about it now. God damn it, I hate it.
I don't know. Maybe our guest knows.
Look at me, I'm Sandra D.
No, not look at me, I'm Sandra D. That's a little too prissy. It's the one. There are worse things that I could do.
Oh yeah.
But my name would be Miss Tawdry Horn, because why not?
You've put a lot of thought into that.
I don't put little thought into it.
All right. Joining us this week is a returning guest, Mark Krawczyk. I know you have like a podcast and a YouTube thing, and I spent yesterday drinking instead of preparing for the show. Shocker.
Isn't drinking how you prepare for the show?
I'm sure it's a shocker to everybody. So I forgot to do my internet research to rekindle what you do. So if you want to go ahead and do that.
Sure, I can. Well, first, thanks for having me back. Though after this movie, you may never have me back.
Very confused the whole time.
I was like, is Mark mad at us?
That's exactly what Dave said. He goes, "Are you joining the club of continually trying to piss them off?"
That's what Dave does. That's definitely what Dave does.
But I do a YouTube channel where I do movie reviews as well as short little skits or whatever comes to mind.
You do the Spoiler Room, right?
And I do the Spoiler Room podcast as well.
Yeah.
We're coming up on episode 168. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Plus, I occasionally write reviews for We Live Entertainment and do a video segment there, though I haven't done much there lately. And occasionally, I'm also on the Astro Radio Z podcast, so I'm kind of all over.
What is that one?
Astro Radio Z podcast. Mm-hmm. It's run by filmmaker and editor Derek Carey. It's kind of cult underground. B movie type stuff, cover stuff that most people don't. It's a lot of fun.
I had never heard of it, which isn't saying a whole lot. I'm a very ill-informed human being.
Yeah,
Well,
so people who aren't familiar with Mark's work, Mark is what an actual film reviewer is, and
Not us.
the exact opposite of us.
Yes.
You were too kind.
He's
but
very
thank
good
you.
and thorough, and I get drunk, and Corey does whatever Corey does.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I don't even know what Corey
Everybody's
does.
got their own style, so
Well, that's true. It works. Although I don't know who listens to this thing anymore because Apple changed how they report back statistics. So
I didn't even know Apple reported back statistics. So
reluctantly they did, and now they changed it to make it more difficult. So if I look at our downloads, there's like 3/4 of them are now missing.
I have to look at how to do that because I've never done that.
Oh, so well, let me explain this one real quick. So basically, what we do is we upload the episode audio to Podbean. And
Okay.
You take the URL and then you put it into Blueberry, which is like a statistics website, and then it gives you like a redirect, and then you post that redirect link in wherever you post your show.
Oh,
So that it
okay.
runs through Blueberry's site, so that if it downloads, it's supposed to tick. But
Supposed to, right?
since the majority of our downloads come from Apple right now, it literally looks like there are 7 people that listen to this thing. and I'm like, there's nothing I can do. It's like now upsetting to look at our downloads.
I just go by how many people on average visit or add to my RSS feed. So, and then look at how many people visit the actual page on my website, and that's about as far as I take it. Not as important. Yeah, it probably should be.
It's
but
not like we're doing anything to get sponsors. Like we don't have to hit
Yeah.
certain download numbers for sponsors because literally all the ads we run are just our friends.
Yeah.
But still, it's like I kind of like to know that somebody is paying attention and that we're doing this for someone other than ourselves.
I'm sure there's people out there paying attention.
Oh, Ashley's in the chat, so right off the bat, we're doing okay.
I was trying to ignore her. She's like
Yeah, I
a
know.
little sister that just keeps coming around. Put peanut butter in her hair and she still wants to hang out.
I think you just hit on the most popular porn on RedTube, actually.
What?
Nothing. Never mind. I
trying to think of
found out some weird
peanut butter
statistics.
and hair.
I know. I'm trying to go back through what I said. Little sister, peanut butter hair.
Look it up.
You don't do it.
We're gonna start looking up pornography on the show now. I mean, we're pretty much one step away from.
What do you
that.
mean now? What do you mean
I
now?
don't think I've ever watched porn while we were recording. It's just like I'm trying to think back.
But not an adamant. I have never watched porn while we were recording.
It's not.
I don't
but
think.
He says it like he's considering it still, though.
11 episodes is a lot to try to take in and think, did I watch porn during that episode?
I've gotten pretty drunk on some episodes, so
And I had to get really distracted for Santa's sleigh. So
that movie's so good.
the movie is not so good.
That movie's fun.
That's yeah.
It's on the Roku channel right now. It's one of the choices, and by
It's free,
choices
right?
I mean yeah, it's
better
absolutely
be.
free. That's the point of the Roku channel.
If you want something completely different in your Christmas film, look for Cannibal Claus. I think that's on Prime right now.
What? I'm looking.
Yeah,
at this
Cannibal Claus. Complete exploitation underground, micro budget film. Lots of nudity, and Santa is a cannibal. Well, a guy who plays Santa is a cannibal. So
They do have Santa Claus Conquers the Martians on there as well.
oh yeah, that's a classic.
one. How many movies do you think you've seen, Mark?
Oh,
This year or all together?
Well, the number. It may be easier for you to figure out how many movies you haven't seen.
A lot of people tell me that. No, I haven't seen a lot of movies. I have seen a lot of movies. This year I will be creeping up on 375. If you include short films. So
Oh yeah. So yeah. So 375 new movies that you had not seen before.
no, altogether. As far as new movies this year, I'd say about a third of that is new movies
Still
I have
pretty
not
good.
seen
oh.
at all. Actually, no more than that if you count the short films. So about a little over half, probably.
So
And I'm rewatching Friends episodes every day.
I'm watching Jersey Shore.
Well, when you say movies, it means ones that came out this year or ones I hadn't seen before?
Just ones you hadn't seen before.
Oh, ones that I haven't seen before, then yeah, it's closer to 350. So
Jesus. So are you just like really into seeing movies, or do you just have like a real broad spectrum of what you're into?
No, he was cursed by an ancient.
So is your life?
I can't say gypsy anymore. So what's the term now?
Is your
Vagabond. No.
Yeah, there you go.
Vagrant. So is your life like a real life Speed, except instead of a bus going under 55, you can't not watch a movie a day? Otherwise you'll blow up.
I don't watch a movie a day, but there's sometimes like a Saturday if I've actually got nothing planned and the kids and wife are doing their own thing, I'll watch 4 or 5 movies on a day.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if anyone I work with still listens to this, but sometimes if I end up working from home, if I'm sick or whatever, I will just burn through a bunch of movies if my wife's gone. So yeah, not that far away from that.
It can be fun if you pick the right selection. You know, we did a challenge. There's a Facebook page that was for the 31 Days of Horror, and it's content. We all post every day. Everybody who's part of the group, you know, what movies they watched during October. Each day you watch at least 31 total films. Doesn't have to be one each day, but it has to equal 31 films by the end of October. So that one's fun, but we wanted to continue it. So we did the Turkey Challenge, which was 15 films. But our runner of the group, Derek Carey, he made the stipulation it had to be a rating of 2.9 stars or below on IMDb, Amazon, or Netflix.
Ooh.
Yeah, because the Turkey Challenge is you watch a bad film, and I think who gave us the idea, the group they were in, it was below 5, but that we figured was too easy. It's got to be 2.9 or below on IMDb, and that was rough.
But
that was
so we before we started recording, we were kind of talking about Rotten Tomatoes, and a lot of times things that are rated poorly on Rotten Tomatoes are actually really good. Like I want to say, Plex added Rotten Tomatoes scores now to movies, and I watched Happy Gilmore, and I think it gave it like a real shitty number, but I think that movie's great.
Well, movies are subjective.
Well, that's the thing. So you could find something you really like, but it's rated shitty on any site.
Well, Rotten Tomatoes is an aggregator of different reviews, so that's the whole problem with Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't have an issue with it like some people do. But it's an arbitrary number. You need to find a reviewer who has similar tastes and interests as you and follow them. And then their scores are going to be probably closer to what you're going to enjoy or not enjoy, depending on what they rate something. But to just go to a site that takes reviews from all over the place and all these different tastes and, you know, reviewers who are much more cerebral about films are going to rate things higher than maybe what we're going to rate it because we like comedies or action films or sometimes just dumb shit. Like I'll watch Balls of Fury 1,000 times or Hot Rod about 1,000,000 times. And I think that those are two just classically funny films, but I don't know what they get on a Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah, well, Rotten Tomatoes, the critics have to apply to be included in Rotten Tomatoes. You have to produce like 200 reviews, I think, in a year to qualify, as well as some other conditions. And then when you submit a review, I believe they can decide whether or not it's actually a rotten or fresh film when they write up their review. Or I'm not quite sure how that works because I never applied for it. I have a friend who's actually a certified Rotten Tomato critic. I didn't have to ask him too much about it, but I do know that unlike some other sites, you do have to be kind of a member first before you get your review considered for the rating. Yeah. But I've always gone on Rotten Tomatoes, and I've seen some where it was rated fresh, but if you read the review, I'm like, this seems like a negative review, or vice versa, where it seemed they were actually rather positive, yet it was still considered rotten. So I was like, yeah, okay. You know, I like Megaforce. It's 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when I was young, it was Siskel and Ebert. I used to watch them, or was it Robert Reed? I think used to do the stuff on Showtime. But I knew that I wasn't gonna like every single film that Siskel or Ebert was gonna like, and vice versa. I wasn't gonna hate everything that they hated. But they at least would discuss what they liked and didn't like about it. They wouldn't just give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. They would talk about the whys. And sometimes it's as simple as, you got me on the wrong week. And this week I'm not in the mood for your bullshit, or the political climate says, hey, your sexist humor in this doesn't really agree with me right now. It's kind of a tough time. But maybe 2 years ago, I would have thought this was fucking hilarious and not thought twice about it. It just sort of depends. I think reviewing stuff is fine. Now, obviously we do it and we do a bullshit job of it. But we're okay with that, because we're mostly here to have fun and entertain as much as we possibly can, and just talk about movies to maybe get people to check those movies out. It's not a matter of, even if you hear me say that a movie is complete shit, it doesn't mean don't watch it. It means watch it, discover for yourself if you also think it's shit, and then call me on my crap. But realistically, a score like that should never stop you from seeing a film that you want to see. And I think that too many people assume that that's what's going to happen, is like, oh, well, Justice League got terrible scores, so no one's going to see Justice League. No, I feel like people already kind of decided that Justice League wasn't for them based off of the first two films that came out. So they were like, yeah, I'm staying home from this one. It didn't have anything to do with what Rotten Tomatoes said on either the fan side or the critic side. It was just like, we know this film is not for me. That's it.
My friends joke, because when Batman v Superman came out, I got a bit triggered, I'll fully admit, because I dove down the rabbit hole of trying to understand the hypocrisy of fandom, and it nearly broke me. And by the end of X-Men Apocalypse, I gave up, because I was like, especially the whole Marvel DC debate, I'm like sitting here going, I looked at the two films at the time, Batman v Superman and Civil War, which came out. And everybody praised Civil War and everybody shat on Batman v Superman. And I fully acknowledge the weaknesses Batman v Superman had. But I'm like, both these films have these weaknesses. But what you're saying in this one, you're not saying in this one. Or like, the big one was, more recent, if you want a comparison, everybody went gaga over the Avengers Infinity War trailer, which I was like, okay, it looks bloated as hell, but okay. But, when Thanos came out, the CGI in him, a lot of people complained. And everybody was like, oh, well, they're still in post-production and they'll probably clean it up and it'll make it look better. I'm like, wait. When Justice League trailer came out, they go, oh, this looks like total shit. I'm not going to go see it. Look at how horrible this film is. I'm like, and now you've got the exact same complaint, but now it's, oh, they're just in post-production and it'll probably look better, once the film comes out. I'm like, give me a break. Folks.
Yeah, you can't service different criteria for two different things. It's silly. But again, I think people know what they want at that point. If you're someone who's enjoyed the Marvel movies all along, then you got very excited by the Infinity War trailer. And if you're someone who didn't enjoy the DC films so far, say for Wonder Woman, then you probably knew that Justice League wasn't going to service you. I watched Justice League and was surprised at how much I enjoyed in it. I still think that there were problems, and I still think the problems that I had with the film stem from Zack Snyder's direction of the movies, which were the problems I had with the Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. I don't find his take on Superman in particular, but superheroes in general, to match up with my tastes, but that's okay. On the other hand, I'm a huge DC fan, and if you go back in time, I loved the Nolan Batman movies, except for the third one. I love the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, the first two, and even number 3. I absolutely love number 3 with Richard Pryor, as dumb as it is. And I watched Supergirl like 1 billion times. But you can watch those things and enjoy those things and still acknowledge that Catwoman was a piece of shit that never should have happened. And when it did, it shat out Shaq as fucking steel. I think that you can look at any of these things objectively and say, this one is good, this one is not good for me. And it's all personal opinion. But to just arbitrarily across the board say, oh, all the Marvel films are excellent. No, they're not all excellent. Some of them are okay. Some of them are fantastic. I haven't seen one yet that I thought was actively bad. I've seen some that I thought were like, okay, that was just fine. But they're also completely watchable. to me. Is like I can enjoy the whole thing, and because they built such a great foundation from those original films that were great, that even the ones that are like, oh, all right, I still enjoy seeing them because they tie into this other big thing. And I think if the DC film universe had established that the same way, it probably would have been received better. The problem is the foundation for the DC film universe right now is based off of a couple of movies that I just didn't like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's one of those things where there were people shitting on the movie and said, this movie is horrible. And then I go, have you seen it? Well, no, but this critic said it was horrible, which confirms my belief this movie's horrible. I'm like, have you seen it? No. Well, then come back to me, and if you hated it after you watched it, okay, fine. You know what? We can have a discussion about it. But until then, don't sit there and say this movie is immediately horrible because you haven't seen it yet, but someone else said it was horrible. I mean, there's a reason why Siskel and Ebert did thumbs down, thumbs up rather than stars or anything.
Yep. And that's a person who reads a headline of an Onion story, thinks it's real, and goes around and starts talking crap about it online afterwards. It's like, you don't have any basis for what you're saying. I'm not mad at you for feeling the way you do, but I feel a little bit bad that you have based a judgment off of absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine. That's your prerogative, man.
And there's movies I know I love that are horrible, or a lot of people, or if you get to filmmaking particulars, no, they're not well-made films, but I love them. I'll watch them all the time. Like today's movie, actually, not all the time, but I'll watch it, even though I fully recognize it's not a great film. But, like Maximum Overdrive, there's people who just hate that film. I love
that movie's great.
Film, and I could watch that film like almost daily, and Stephen King does not really like that film, but I could watch that all the time.
Exactly. I mean, I love that movie, but I grew up with that movie. Certainly the soundtrack adds something to it. But yeah, I watch some of the shit. Like I watched the SWAT movie with Colin Farrell all the time it's on. Every time The Replacements is on with Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman, which is a fucking sports movie. I don't even like football, but for some reason I like movies about sports. So that and Varsity Blues, I will watch just sitting on my ass until fucking trees grow underneath me. I don't care. I love those goddamn movies, and I know that they're awful. It's like someone who loves Showgirls. Yeah, you know what? You can love Showgirls, except for that weird ass floppy fish sex scene in the pool. That's crazy.
Wait, does that not
ain't nobody
what
okay
sex
with
is
that?
like?
It is like sex with a fish.
I've been doing it wrong.
If you cut your own hole into it.
I like smoked fish. Makes it smell good, at least.
You like sex with smoked fish, or you like smoked fish? Just like
yes.
He likes to keep going until the friction starts to burn, and then
yes.
Hell yeah. Really good conversation.
Top of Old Smoky.
You take the skin off, there's a tender underneath. Never mind.
Ask Mark how to debone a fish. He's like, I've never done it in my life.
No, I want to bone a fish, not debone it. What are you talking about? No. Anyway.
And there we go.
I mean, I don't hate it. I don't hate this at all. Not one bit.
It's one reason a lot of people who in my generation went to see Showgirls or watch Showgirls. And that was because Elizabeth Berkley got butt ass naked.
Jessie Spano?
Yes.
Yeah, let's call her a real name.
That's why.
She's so excited, and she just can't hide it.
She's so
Getting banged by Dale Cooper in a pool.
If Tiffany Amber Thiessen was also in that film, most of my generation would have short circuit.
Yeah, seriously.
It would have been like, ah!
Yeah. I love Kelly Kapowski.
They would have had to pay the theater employees extra for cleaning.
Oh, just power wash it when you're done.
just like, was Pee Wee Herman here? What the fuck?
Did either of you watch American Horror Story?
With the latest one?
Yeah.
No, I did not. We stopped after Hotel. We've got to watch the other ones. We wait till they come online and binge them usually.
Oh, damn it. I don't want to ruin anything for you.
I've heard the last 2 seasons, Roanoke and then this past one were not good, but
Cult?
No, yeah, Cult was better than Roanoke, but there's a weird jerking off in a shower situation that happens, and yeah, like
Is that just when you're watching it, Matt, or was it?
what was that, Corey?
I said, is it just when you're watching it?
God damn it! And I also, I'm ignoring you. I also don't like that Billy Eichner is in it because I don't consider him like a serious actor.
Yeah, but I don't know how many of the people in any of who is it, Ryan Murphy that does the American Horror Story?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people in Ryan Murphy stuff I consider serious actors, period. It's just like he gets some weird people to be in his stuff, because even the stuff that's supposed to be taken seriously seems like it almost never is. He's just got a weird aesthetic to his writing. It's like it's always halfway into Glee territory. That's why I thought Scream Queens, the first season at least, was so right for him, because it was all the American Horror Story stuff with all the silliness that he's more capable of doing, and I think suits his voice a little bit better. Nip Tuck was like that. I think it was just so weird that it you didn't take it seriously, even though it was technically a drama.
Yeah, it got weird.
Plus, Billy Eichner's awesome. Billy Eichner's great.
I think he's funny. I just was taken aback to see him in what is supposed to be like a serious role, and later on shit gets a little off the rails for him, and it just, I don't know, it was weird. He's not bad. I just didn't want that. I didn't want that. Plus, he's got to clean up the jizz in the showers. That's what that whole thing stemmed from.
Highest paid untrade labor job in Sonoma County for the longest time was the guy who did the booth cleanup at the adult bookstore.
I mean, you got to get paid a lot of money to do that,
and not enough money. I heard the pay scale, and I'm like, nope, not even interested.
Yeah, there's nothing. You couldn't pay me enough to do that. I don't even like cleaning up my own.
Somebody does it. I don't even like doing my own. Yeah. I don't even like my own cleanup. Have you ever heard the Kevin Smith story about the what is the fleshlight? And then he didn't clean it.
No.
And then one day he went and he opened it up and he found out what happens when you don't clean your fleshlight.
Oof.
And I don't. First, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Second of all, we already go on a cusp of too much wrong on the show as it is. If you are a strong constitution, seek it out, but really don't seek it out.
Is there pictures or is it just a story?
It's just a story, but it's very graphic, and it paints a picture, so to speak, of something you just never would think of, and it's awful. It is just awful. Clean your shit out. Wash that sock. Let your sex slaves bathe once in a while. Give them a horse bath. They're in the basement.
This PSA brought to you by the Podcast of Terror.
That's why there's a bucket that you send down the bucket.
It puts the lotion on the hands.
Yeah.
So Mark, you may or may not know that there's another snowstorm coming.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, Thursday. We're supposed to get 6 to 10 inches of snow.
Not a surprise.
Yeah, not shocked. For those listening, Mark and I live like an hour away from each other. Never once met in real life. We hang out on the internet once in a while.
You hang out once in a while, you might get 6 to 10 inches more often.
Wow. All right. So where I was going with this is they have a really shitty naming scheme for much like hurricanes and all that stuff. So I've decided to name this snowstorm. It's Snowpocalypse 2017 version 2.0, brought to you by Pepsi.
Nice.
So I think we should start selling the naming rights of snowstorms and hurricanes to major corporations.
There you go. You get T-shirts.
Yeah, we can get T-shirts made and special edition Pepsi flavors for the hurricane.
First of all, how are you going Pepsi if your bottling choice beverage is anything? Like, why aren't you getting sponsored by a beer company? It's you.
You prove a really good point.
That is.
I don't know.
Brought to you.
Their sponsorship.
Brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers.
Ooh.
Oh, Bud Ice.
Bud Ice. There you go. Bud Ice.
And in the 90s, I drank a lot of Bud Ice and Bud Dry, and then I mixed them together, made Bud Dry Ice, and everything got fucked up after that.
Wait, did you really do that?
Yeah, I did it once.
Oh, Bud Dry Ice. Have you ever heard of a Red Dog? Where you mix, no, Juice Dog. Because Red Dog was the beer. So you mix Red Dog and tomato juice.
No.
Yeah, I never did it. I had some friends that really wanted to. They used to yell Juice Dog all the time. I probably would have just thrown up.
You use Clamato?
That sounds disgusting too. What is that? Budweiser and clam juice?
Clamato is clam juice and tomato juice mixed together. It is an actual product.
Yeah.
That's what tomato juice needs is fish.
You can get cans of Budweiser and Clamato pre-mixed.
Clamato just sounds a little too close to chlamydia, which I'm already afraid of catching when I drink Budweiser. So I just.
Yeah, anytime I drink too much Budweiser, my insides like to run out my ass. You want to talk about this movie? Speaking of things
like
running out my ass.
It's like a
Did you want to talk about the movie? You guys seem to be delaying it.
Oh, no, not
for
at
more
all.
of this podcast, including show notes and contact info and subscription links, go to gncast.com/pot. You know how to do this. We tell you about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You can chat with us on our Slack channel or the YouTube when we're live, like Ashley and Growly do. Or you can go to gncast.com/sign up. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the newsletter for the network.
Yeah, real quick, because I'm pretty sure Mark is drinking water.
No, I'm drinking not your father's mountain ale.
Damn you.
I'm
drinking orange.
Does it actually taste like
sparkling
Mountain Dew?
It tastes very citrusy, similar to Mountain Dew. The thing is, you don't taste any alcohol in it, much like the not your father's root beer, which I really enjoy.
Oh, not bad. Yeah, I had 9 too many last night, so I'm drinking sparkling water.
Ew.
Nothing wrong with that. That's usually my drink of choice. I only drink when I'm on podcasts. So,
yeah, we had some friends over last night, but I think for all the people who know how much I love being a beer nerd, I think I finally got my hands on a bottle of peanut butter marshmallow barrel-aged Popinski, which if you're played Nintendo at all, it's fucking Soda Popinski from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, or Punch-Out in general, is the label. And, yeah, it's this Angry Chair in Tampa. Pretty fucking excited. I saw someone have it once, and I've just been on a tear, and it's worth a lot of money.
The one that I wish I could have gotten, but it never came up here in Wisconsin, was the Black Phillip drink.
No, you can get it here.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've bought a 6-pack, and there's a liquor store down the street from my house that it still has it.
Oh, nice.
It's super, super fucking good.
Is it?
Yeah, that Blake's Hard Cider.
Yeah.
When we did The Witch, I got a 6-pack and split it with not Corey, our guest that was on.
Nice.
Yeah, it is very good. I recommend it if you see it. They have, it's like their mango habanero one is really good too.
Mm-hmm.
If you like spice at all, it's not like a super spicy. It's just kind of like it's there. It burns enough to let you know it's there.
Sure.
I recommend it.
That's the way I like the spice usually.
Yeah. I had now Stone Brewing is like everywhere here. But back in the day when you couldn't get it here, I got a bottle of Crime and Punishment, and it was like 2 pepper porters made with like the habaneros from the brewmaster's garden.
Oh, wow.
And they were so fucking hot that I like took a sip and dumped them out. And it was like the big ass bomber bottles. Yeah, I was just pouring money down the drain.
By the way, burns just enough so that you know it's there is also the description of my chlamydia.
Jesus. Corey, what are you drinking? Lipton iced tea over there?
I'm drinking Lipton iced tea. I should be drinking something hot. I just got out of the shower. I've been sick this entire week. And so I took a nice hot shower before I got on the air. So I have that 15-minute window of when I can breathe. It's already up.
We'll move this one along. I have a sore throat because I got so drunk that I snored all night. My wife almost went and slept on the couch, and I got yelled at when I woke up this morning. That's my life.
I finally got replacement stuff for my breathing apparatus, the thing that keeps me alive. because that's what you do is you get one of those and then they don't send you supplies for a year. So I pulled out the filter on it, and it was hairier and a darker color than my now dead cat. But it was pretty horrifying to know that that's going into my face holes while I sleep. Oh, good times.
Yeah, it's fucked up. I never like looking at the filters of things. I do.
No,
anyways, but
man, there's a lot of disgusting stuff, and what we just talked about with the adult bookstore, that's one of them. But another one that is like should be at that same level, but seems somewhat socially acceptable, is other people's lint. When you don't have your own washing machine and dryer in your apartment, and you have a shared one, or you go to a laundromat and you empty the lint screen because you have to do that, otherwise shit catches fire. People don't clear their own lint when they're done pulling their stuff out. That is a level of gross that I don't even want to comprehend. It's like everybody's dead skin cells and hair and fecal matter and everything else. It's just like all been heated up and put into a nice big fluffy ball for your pleasure. Somebody took a shit in our laundry room at my old apartment complex once, and that was less disgusting to me.
Did I ever tell you the story about the person, presumably female, who just took a shit in our office, like in the hallway? So she was like a training room, and there's a bathroom in between, and there was a turd in between the two. So we're like, it had to be like a woman who was in a dress who just like stopped and dropped.
Stopped, dropped,
dropped, and rolled.
So she didn't make it to either things that she needs. She either needed to go to the bathroom, or she needed to go to the training room, where they probably put like training pants on her so that she could have shit in her pants.
All right, now that
I just stood outside both and couldn't make a decision, so fuck it right here.
All right, speaking of shitting our pants, let's talk about this movie.
Yes.
What is the movie?
Gore Girls.
When I started watching it, it said it was called Blood Orgy, so I had to double check and make sure that was the right thing.
Yeah, that's the right thing. It's the title at one point, and then it was called the Gore Girls.
I didn't know that.
From the godfather of gore, Herschel Gordon Lewis, who gave us 2000 Maniacs and also Blood Feast. And yeah, I think Color Me Blood Red is the other one, the Blood Trilogy, but I'm surprised you guys are still talking to me after watching this.
I didn't know any of his stuff. And then apparently this is both the first movie that he submitted to the MPAA for a rating, and they rated it X. And I agree. And it was the last movie he did for like 30 years.
Yeah.
So he was very prolific before that. And I'm sure if this is an example, it was just a beloved body of work. They probably play it in the local religious group. But yeah, and then he just stops, and then he made a comeback. He made some weird return that I'm sure that everybody was just banging on his door for.
Yeah. He made Blood Feast 2, All You Can Eat, which I haven't seen all of yet, unfortunately. He only made 3 films after this. Before
you want to take that in small bites.
Yeah. Well, he also did Wizard of Gore. Have you guys heard any of these? 2000 Maniacs, Wizard of Gore, Blood Feast. I mean, this guy, he was the guy, they call him the godfather of gore because he was one of the first ones to make truly bloody, gory horror films on like a micro budget.
Yeah, he does.
2000 Maniacs is probably still my favorite of his. Wizard of Gore is pretty good, and Blood Feast has a place in my heart as well. Yeah, they're low budget, but there's some fun things they do in it. I highly recommend 2000 Maniacs. Actually, I believe that's where the 10,000 Maniacs also got their name inspired from, was from his 2000 Maniacs film, which you can watch. I just recommend watch that. And then if you're curious, they did a not a remake, but kind of an update sequel, 2001 Maniacs, that had Robert Englund in it.
Yeah, I thought that sounded familiar. I also like the fact that he goes from going through his IMDb. He goes from directing Blood Feast right to Goldilocks and the Three Bears. But that is Bears, Bares.
Well, yeah, because he made nudie cuties as well that were played in grindhouse films. So he has in between doing the horror stuff, he also did some nudie cuties, which were kind of stag type films where girls are topless playing volleyball and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm going to start out by saying that this is unusual for me, but I can't remember the last time that I've said, hey, maybe we let up on the stripper scenes a little bit.
Yeah, I completely agree. There was a point where I was like, this is uncomfortable. This is borderline pornography.
Yeah.
It's not even like it was borderline pornography. It was just boobs. But it was long stretches and the worst musical choices I've ever heard, because it was like one verse of a song, but no singing, just the same music over and over and over and 5 minutes over, and one of them I'm pretty sure was like a something you'd hear at an election rally, just continuous over and over, and then they kept bringing it back, like anytime the girl's on the screen, even when she's getting murdered, here's that same dance music again that it's like Oh Canada playing to get, but your ass is getting beat with a meat cleaver over and over, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
Well, it's a low budget movie. They probably
plus
only
it's
purchased one
1972,
song.
and as my wife said, that is a flat ass. That is like, you can't drive anywhere on that ass because that ass is flat.
I tell you, I try to introduce people to the classics, and you know,
it's a cultured film, like yogurt that's been sitting in a locker for 35 fucking years. Wow.
If you're familiar at all with his work, this film, yeah, I didn't realize you guys didn't. It can be surprising, but it's kind of why I picked this, because I just wanted to see how you guys would react. I've watched this multiple times. Herschel Gordon Lewis, yeah, he is the godfather of gore, micro budget filmmaking. Back when they had film, not camcorder, it's all the stuff he shot was on film. So most of your budget ends up going to that. So yeah, music selection, you don't have a huge amount. And this, he really went more comical than some of his other films, though he works humor into all of them. Like you have the old, which I don't think many people would catch nowadays because it was more of a thing back then. But when the cops would show up and clean up the crime scene, they played the old music track that they would usually play for working, like labor scenes, like in cartoons, like in the Looney Tunes, where if someone was pounding something on the train or whatnot, it always was kind of associated with work. I forgot the name of the track, but that cue they play every time because they were, these guys are doing work, and it's usually a signature in like cartoons of someone doing monotonous work over and over again. And so, that's why some of those musical cues are in there. And some of them, it's just a budget choice. He only had so much to work with. So,
yeah, when I was a kid, I used to watch Tom and Jerry all the time. I love Tom and Jerry, specifically the Chuck Jones era of Tom and Jerry, but going back further in the Hanna-Barbera stuff, it was all great. And then they hit a point in Tom and Jerry where the animation really kind of like went low budget, and all the music became a weird sort of trombone sound. And when this film started, it felt like watching that era of Tom and Jerry, which is probably around the same time. This film was 1972. But that was the day I knew I was going to be disappointed, when Tom and Jerry started playing the later episodes, and anything in the 80s on was terrible crap, because that's when they had people talking. But it was definitely like, oh, this is going to feel real dated. And it did. I don't mind that, but it was just such an attention to detail of, here's someone dancing for forever, and we're going to play this same bit of sound continuously for the whole thing. That's why it wore me down. It's like, I can't even feign interest in the boobs.
Do you think that they put all these weird extended dance scenes in there to like lengthen the movie? because it didn't really serve like any sort of story purpose.
They weren't that long.
They felt like
You guys
Some of them
haven't-
felt long.
You guys haven't obviously seen Orgy of the Dead. If you want to talk about long scenes with nudity only, Orgy of the Dead, written by Ed Wood Jr., our good man Ed Wood, those have extended long naked scenes. They aren't actually long in here. They might seem a little long because of the way it's directed, but
They get shorter when they get to the contest.
right.
But for a while, the strippers, it seems like they're up there for too long, and like I know you got to make money. I'm okay with you making, but it's take a breather. It just sit down, just rest for a little bit, and nobody in the crowd, like a level of acting maybe, but everyone just kind of like woo. Yeah,
Well,
it's
I do kind of like that portrayal of a strip club audience versus what you normally see, because if you go to a strip club, it looks more like lions watching gazelles run across the field. But if you look at most movies, you got people hooping and hollering and yeah, and, woo, and I'm like, what strip club did you guys go to? This one was at least a little more realistic, like, oh yay, okay,
what's at the buffet?
yeah, right.
They set out the wings. Where's the wings? Yeah, it's been a long time since I've gone to a strip club. In fact, the last one I went to was on my 21st birthday, and it starred men. So
Wrong weekend to go.
no, it was that's where we were going. Was like we went bar hopping. I was designated driver, and my drunk uncle said he wanted to go to Promenades, which was the local gay bar in Grand Rapids, and we got there, and it just happened to be the first time that they did live entertainment. So there was a picture of me, my uncle, and his girlfriend at the time, and a couple of strippers leaning into me, hugging me, vibrant flesh tones on that glittered chest, and the guy leans in, and my uncle's like, "Hey, it's his birthday," and he leans in, he's like, "Happy birthday," and I felt his knee on my back. I'm like, "Hey, that's a little. Oh, that is not your knee."
Aw. Now I know.
It was a good time for everybody.
Everybody was enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
So I take it you guys didn't enjoy this film, though.
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that this film had challenges. I also want to point out that about 95% of the people in this movie, this was their only movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think a couple of people had been in more things. And then, of course, and this is where things went right for me. Henny Youngman is in this.
Yes, right?
Holy shit. Fucking Henny Youngman shows up in this, and he is running a strip club. And then he wants to run a contest to get amateur strippers to show up and win possibly $1,000. And I kept saying, is this someone doing an impersonation of Henry Youngman? Because they're pretty goddamn good. No. Fucking Take My Wife, Please. Henny Youngman is in this goddamn movie for no fucking reason. I assume he is related to somebody or lost a bet or had some sort of sex tape. Something happened with Henny Youngman that he was in this. I don't even know if he was. I don't even know if he knows he was. Because shit, what the hell? Henny Youngman. God damn it.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird that he shows up in this film, which all his scenes were shot in one day. So,
like he needs a second take. He's
like
fucking the biggest pro.
He didn't need a second take, no. And yeah, like a lot of these films, especially back then, these films, you grabbed whoever you could because it would be on the cheap. So
Milton Berle, I would have expected. Absolutely Milton Berle. But William Shallert showed up in Extreme videos. I can handle some things. Henny Youngman was in fucking Tiny Toons, okay? they did an episode with him. I'm like, this shit can't be right. Brilliant. Made my day.
Yeah, it's always odd to see that Henny Youngman was in here, and he has some great scenes in here. I think, I think there's a lot to enjoy in here if you kind of just sit back and can get past if the strip scenes seem a little long. Like, the Abraham Gentry character played by Frank Kress, that guy, he like makes the most out of this role, and this is like his only film ever, but he was kind of a fun character, I thought. Him and the reporter.
Nancy Weston, who showed up in Airport, I think was the last film that she did or something like that. Yeah, so Abraham Gentry. Now I'm gonna regret saying this so soon after talking about my 21st birthday, but I enjoy a good prick. All right, and this guy is excellent at just being a prick to everybody in this entire movie. He's just like straight up sarcastic bullshit, feeding on, like, fucking make fun of the cops, make fun of the strippers, make fun of the waitress who's bringing me drinks and expecting her not to spit in it. You fucking crazy. Just, hey, you're giving me $25,000. Well, fuck you anyway. Really? Just total dickhead throughout the entire fucking thing. And girls keep wanting to sleep. And he's like, nah, I'm tired. I'm going to go home. And then walks out so the girl can get murdered. That was fucking nice. And then shows up later on. Well, you guys know I wasn't here, right? You can tell that I left. How the fuck can they tell that you left? Like, they didn't have DNA or anything. They just kind of, you knew I wasn't here when it happened, right? Sure. We believe you because you're such an upstanding citizen, you prick. Quite enjoyable.
He's an enjoyable prick PI, though. So a true dick, if you
True dick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just conversation.
What's
The whole
matter,
thing,
man?
the whole thing with him and the waitress is basically like watching Flo and Mel from Alice.
Mhm.
Like the back and forth. That's all it was. Is just them just beating on each other the whole way. So, little spoilery here. It kind of makes you feel like the waitress is too important to the story that it gives you the hint that she maybe did it.
Yeah.
But not enough of a hint that they can't give you 10 minutes of exposition after everything's already happened at the end. It's like, so here's why I decided that she must be the one. And it all stuff has happened that nowhere in this film did you hear any of this. It's just like, hey, a few years ago, I heard about this chick and she did wrestling and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really?
What? They did have the one scene where he visited his wrestler female friend. You don't
Right.
see any dialogue or anything. He just comes out of there and shakes hands, and he got some kind of information, that will show up later on, So, when you've only got so much money to work with and so much film that you can shoot on, you got to pick your scenes wisely.
Well, they picked it for extended stripper scenes, and then let's just face it, and this is probably why this movie is considered a classic. The gore scenes of the kills, which were just straight up, I thought I was watching the Cooking Network for a little bit, because almost every time the killer comes in, kills somebody, and then grabs some kitchen utensil and does something with, like, seasoned the person's ass, beat them to death on their ass with a meat tenderizer, and then grabbed salt and pepper and started seasoning. And then I believe Abraham actually taste tested the blood, right? Didn't he? When the cop comes up later, he's like, hey, let me stick my finger in that and lick it.
Well, yeah, because he brings the tissue on with the sample, and he sniffs it for a moment. Then he takes a little of his finger. Oh no, the meat tenderizer. He brings the meat tenderizer out, and he licks it and goes, oh. It's just like he tasted it, because that's how you tell.
I think I've had this before. Yeah,
before.
It's like, who knew that we ordered Arby's? I just couldn't fucking handle some of the fucking shit in this. But those scenes, it's like, so slice the woman's neck, slice her throat, and then she continues to scream, or she dies instantly. It just sort of depends. And then pull out a hatchet and start beating on the head to split it open. And then you can see the point where it obviously becomes like a latex mask, and it's just sort of pulling off. And but it's a lot of stuff with eyeballs in this. I'm kind of glad that's where my wife went to work, is because she has a problem with eyeball shit. But she was watching it and she's like, this is just the greatest movie ever made. But again, heavy focus on the ripping up of the flesh thing. Like not stepping back from this at all. The whole movie opens. I thought I missed something. I thought it like started later in the film by mistake. It just opens up with a girl doing her makeup in front of a mirror, and then somebody comes up and kills her. Just smack dab right away. Boom. Slice, face in the mirror. She's screaming. Just keep pounding her face, and then it just becomes pulp. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a good, strong opening. It's like you don't have any question what kind of film you're getting into. You'd be wrong, because you really don't have any idea. But at least you know, bitch is gonna die. Bitch is gonna die in this. And then it just goes on from there. But man, just the level of, hey, so I'm gonna put some French fries in some hot oil and heat that up and make myself dinner. Oh, nope, got murdered. Well, here comes my friend. Hey, Becky, how's it going? Oh, face in the oil. Just like, it's like Julia Child's murder mystery. It's fantastic. Except Julia Childs would, of course, spend 20 minutes taking off her clothes slowly in front of a slightly perturbed audience.
I think Julia's done doing the show now.
Yeah.
That was the series finale of Julia Child they never showed.
That's true. I think Mario Batali probably has that tape. Bad week.
When it opens, though, it opens. It reminds me, though, some of the stuff in here reminds me of Italian giallo horror, though. With at least the way it opens, where you got the black leather glove, the leather outfit for your killer, and the knife. And it kind of is angled towards that. It makes you feel like he's playing a little bit with that.
Yeah,
idea.
It definitely felt like that in the opening scene. And then it kind of goes away from that. We didn't even go over what the plot was. We didn't even give the rundown of what the film is. Usually, Mark, we'd make you do that.
I'm sorry. I guess we just dove right into it.
I don't know that
like
we're
a ton of story
leading
here.
anybody. I don't know that we're leading anybody astray by not giving them the plot. This is really it. This is what the film is. Stripper gets killed. Paper sends a reporter to this guy Abraham Gentry, who everybody seems to know and think highly of, even though he is a elusive asshole who doesn't want to talk to anybody, but will gladly take $50,000 to go solve a murder and just be a jerk to everybody around town. They go to the strip club to ask questions. They lead him to some guy who is kind of obsessed with the original stripper. Another stripper gets killed. I keep using the term stripper. Is stripper still okay, or should I call them sex workers? Is that what we've gone to now?
Go-go dancers.
They're go-go dancers.
Back then, they would have been more referred to as go-go dancers or strippers. Yeah,
I think they keep calling them strippers in this, though.
They do. Yeah.
So at some point during one of the shows, the Women's Lib Foundation. This movie is to Women's Lib what Cujo was to PETA, which is a great example of we think very highly of these women who are asking for respect in the industry, and so they show up. What was it? Quit no tits. What was the sign? So
quit no tits.
Weird. Yeah, very bizarre signage. They stand and they wait for the show. They stand around for, again, 10 minutes waiting for the scene to now she's completely naked. Let's go up and have our little protest and beat the shit out of patrons in this fucking bar, except leave the reporter who's passed out because Abraham keeps getting her drunk. Leaves her on the table. So they all are upset. The leader of them becomes a suspect. A guy who I guess killed a bunch of people in Vietnam, both on the opposite side and his own company, works at one of the bars now. He becomes a suspect because he keeps drawing faces on squash and on tomatoes and then squishing the faces.
Weird.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Do we think he might be the killer? I'd put him up there. Yeah. But not him, guys. Not him. Excuse me. But most of what keeps happening is Abraham keeps fighting with this waitress who works at every place in this movie. He can't go to a fucking bar that she doesn't work at. And
well, he goes to the 3 strip clubs that are owned by Henny Youngman's character, and she happens to work at all 3. So,
but every time he's there, he walks in and she's there. He's like,
yes.
Oh, I just thought it was going to be you. Yeah.
Well, he even makes a point at one point going, wow, what a coincidence. Who would have thought I would have showed up here at the exact same time you were working at another location?
Right.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but that's pretty much the film, though. You're right, Corey.
That is it. That is really it. And for some reason, the reporter likes him. Like, he gets her drunk one time, and she's like, well, you wouldn't really have to get me drunk to get into bed with me. He's like, well, I'm not really getting in bed with you either way, so fuck off. But let me order you another drink with 4 tequilas in it. Jesus Christ.
Matt's staying silent.
I don't have a lot to say about this movie. It was not that great.
I've broken you guys.
The first time he gets a reporter drunk, first time Abraham gets Nancy drunk, he takes her out to take her home, and he lays her down in the street. I really, literally thought he was just going to leave her laying there in the street.
You think so?
I thought, this is par for the course with him. He's just going to be like, yeah, fuck this lady, and just drop her. But he actually goes and gets her a cab, and then sends her home with a stranger. You know, if that was Uber, she'd be dead. We'd be getting parts of her mailed to us right now.
She'd be dead, but somehow she still gave the Uber driver 5 stars. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Stab me very nicely.
Oh, come on, you can't beat though the one scene where the girl, she's popping bubble gum, and as she's popping the bubble, the guy hits her in the back of the head, and blood fills within the bubble.
Fills the bubble, and the bubble doesn't burst. Yes, you're absolutely right. That was the best scene.
I mean, there's some great things in here. I mean, shocking and like, holy crap! But you know, you kind of do have to separate yourself a little bit from what's actually good filmmaking and what this film is, which it firmly is self-aware of what it is. And like you said, you know, this is Herschel Gordon's last film, and it feels like, because he has a reputation of Gore, he was trying to just go all out, like, just, you know what, this is probably gonna be my last film. I'm just doing whatever the fuck I want, you know, including cutting the nipples off of my victim and pouring milk in a cup from the breast.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Like the years of therapy now that's resurfaced, I'm gonna have to pay for it. Oh, what the shit!
Wow. I didn't expect Corey to be so upset about this.
I didn't. I'm sorry, guys.
I just saw it happen. I'm like, that could not really be. Oh shit! There it goes for the other one. Yep. And get champagne glasses to fill them up with it.
Well, you need to drink out of the proper glassware.
And then they get clinged too. The killer clings both cups.
Yes.
Both glasses. Like cheers. And well, I mean, then you get the stripper names too. You know, Candy Cane, Susie Cream Puff, Lola Prize. You know, the film's not meant to be taken seriously at all.
Right.
If people go in thinking a serious horror film, you're going to really be disappointed, because it's not. He's having a lot of fun. And like I said, if you are familiar with his other body of work, I think you might see it more, but I can also completely understand your guys' reaction to it, which, like I said, I just was wondering how you guys would take it, because it is a film of one of those that lives in the kind of cult film section, and you know, not talked about a lot. A lot of people talk about his like 2000 Maniacs, which is probably his most popular one, I would say, next to Blood Feast. But even then, this is some of the stuff. I mean, we're talking 40 years ago, 45 years ago, this was made. So a lot of these films just get lost, you know, and they're not great. But if you look at what he's doing with what little that he had, the gore effects, as cheesy as they look like nowadays, it's pretty extensive for the budget.
Yeah, I watched. I stayed up until 1 o'clock. Well, I stayed up till 4 o'clock, but I watched the giant Gila monster last night, and that's my second time seeing this year because I saw it in San Francisco at the beginning of the year up on the screen for a party. But that's kind of what I think of. Oh, quaint older movie, and it's a little bit B movie-ish and stuff. And no, I this is a different level. This was something else. And I don't have a huge problem with it because you're right. It's not taking itself seriously. The actors, the two lead actors are very funny. And the Henry Youngman is very funny. The waitress is funny. Overall, there's a lot to enjoy in this. It's just, I couldn't believe some of the things that happened in it. And again, some of the focus of like, well, we've got someone who's willing to dance naked up on screen. Should we really pan away? No, let's just stick it out. Let's just let the film run. Just
use everything. We set up the scene. It took us like half an hour to set up the lighting in the scene. So yeah, we're just going to keep running with it. So
you got any of that tape over there from the JFK assassination that we can tape over? Yeah, let's do that.
Well, again, this comes from the director who made some of the classic stag nudie cutie films, as they're titled, where, so it's coming from that filmmaker. So again, that part doesn't surprise me that it took extra long on it. And it's exploitation film. It's horror exploitation of the old days. And
so what part do you think got it the X rating? Where do you think it went wrong? It's reserve judgment. Where do you think it went so right?
It's the MPAA. It probably went wrong with the opening scene being too graphic. Yeah. Is what I would suspect, even more so than any type of sexual content. It was the gore, because I mean, you look at RoboCop. RoboCop got an X rating the first time around, and there's nothing sexual really in there at all, except for the coke scene with the hookers, which okay, but that's not what got it. It was the excessive violence and gore, and that's the same way here. It got that rating because the gore was so excessive, but at the same time, I think they missed the point that it was being excessive on purpose. These kills are being insane on purpose because he is just poking fun a little at himself, but just making an over-the-top gory comedy. So at first you're kind of like shocked, and then you kind of find yourself going, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. And, it's done so matter-of-factly that, I think that opening scene really probably made them start to question, what rating to give it. And then by the time you get to the milk scene, well,
yeah. And none of these are realistic. It's not like this is Tom Savini level of effects or anything. When you're watching it, you kind of know, well, did they actually kill a person? No, it doesn't look even remotely. But it's so over the top. It's so weird. The least bizarre one was using the hot iron. I think that was the one where like, you can tell that's makeup, but everything else, it was just, here's some sort of cantaloupe and we're just gonna rip this thing to shit. It's quaint. That's a term that doesn't apply.
I don't think I've heard anyone say it's quaint. It's quaint for a gory exploitation over the top film that has lots of boobs and blood. So it's quaint.
My two favorite bees.
And yet you didn't like it, Matt.
Okay. It's entertaining, but it's entertaining. That's really all I can say. I mean, the lack of story doesn't help. The cheesy effects don't help, but the cheesy effects are entertaining.
What about breaking the fourth wall? He goes a little Ferris Bueller a couple of times and talks directly to the screen, especially at the end when it's like he and Nancy are gonna he's gonna hit that. I guess he's decided the $50,000 and her dealing with his shit for so long and this whole thing and him risking her life. It's like it finally adds up. Yeah, I'll throw her a bone. And then she's like, hey, but what about them? And they look up at the screen and he's like, I'll just close this. And slowly the screen goes black. It's like, okay. Yeah, really. Just not even trying. I saw that same ending in Meatballs 4 with Corey Feldman. So sorry, but the better film obviously wins here.
Which may have stolen it from here. So you never know.
Wow.
Corey Feldman hasn't taken anything from anybody except for, Corey Feldman's own innocence.
That's true.
He might be listening to this, so I don't want to offend the guy.
Corey might be listening. Corey, I love your angels. There you go. Anyway.
I really wish I'd have went to see him when he was in Green Bay. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I almost wanted. I'm like, oh man, that'd be almost worth the trip. That's gotta be an experience.
I definitely have to see him at some point. I met Corey Haim, so I need to at some point in my life I need to meet Corey Feldman.
Well, he had an opening for a bouncer, Corey. I think I told you the story, but my wife would not let me apply.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. I could be protecting Corey Feldman right now instead of doing this podcast.
Would you?
Life goals.
Isn't it one of those things of like, you're in the Secret Service and then some asshole gets elected president? I'm not going to throw any names out there, but then you just kind of go, so I know my whole job is to take a bullet for this guy, but maybe I go into private security now, just like, because I don't want to have that moment of a split second decision and say, I tripped. It just like,
I really
sorry,
meant to dive in front of that bullet, but
I fell on my shoelaces before then. God,
I didn't get the footing I needed to be able
sorry,
to.
Corey Feldman gets punched in the face. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was supposed to be protecting Snoop Dogg.
You got this, Corey. You got this, Corey.
Take him down.
Is there anything else you want to talk about the movie, or should we rate it?
No, I think we covered it well. It's not a deep film, but
no, not at all.
Again, though, I mean, one of the things is, and I'm glad you guys allowed me to pick this one, and still were troopers and sat through it, because it's a film that I enjoy, but I enjoy his work, so I appreciate you guys. Just want to say ahead of time, appreciate you having me on the show and actually muscling through this 45-year-old film.
So, yeah, it wasn't like a great movie. And I mean, Dave had made us watch some shit too, but like a bad movie generally results in good conversation. So that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is have a fun conversation. So this movie allowed for that. So I don't really see this as being like, oh, waste of my time.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. Well, I'll literally watch anything once.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, too.
Except Frozen. I will not watch Frozen.
I'll let it go.
God.
Fuck.
Just,
no.
Just
I
let
was
it go.
watching
I hear you over there trying to make dad jokes. Stop that.
No, there was the half-hour short was on the other night.
Oh God,
Frozen, and I had the TV on and I just didn't know where the remote was, and I've been sick, so I couldn't even work up the strength to change the channel. I'm just sitting there like, this has got to be the worst thing. If there's not a motivation to get me off the fucking mattress, this is it. This is definitely it.
Was that Olaf's Frozen Adventure?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what they played in front of Coco that everybody got, because it was a quote.
They had to remove it.
It was a quote unquote short that was 22 minutes long. So you had a whole bunch of kids going, "Where's Coco?" while they're watching Olaf. And I know this is a podcast. This is in public. Let's just say I went to Coco with my children. And on the way home, we had an interesting conversation about parallels with Olaf and Frozen, and a certain group that rose to power back in the late 30s, early 40s, where they were acquiring they were acquiring objects of religious or faith from different people and then set them on fire.
Oh, okay. I'm like, where is this headed? Wasn't quite sure. Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was equated to a certain faction that used to, in their country of Germany, collect the other traditions of other folks and then set them on fire. So, interesting conversations when we take the drive home. Let me tell you.
How was Coco? Was good though, right? I heard from a lot of people.
Coco was great.
Yeah.
Coco was great. It was enjoyable. Olaf's Frozen Adventure, not so much.
It's just...
And now that we've equated it to the Nazi Party of burning their traditional objects, now I look at that short in a wholly different light, and I'm like, okay, no.
Now I kind of want to watch it, just to see where you're coming from. Does that make me a terrible person?
No, I'm a terrible person for bringing it up.
So. No,
Try not to make a tie between a snowman and an oven joke. I just don't want to. I feel bad about it.
All right, Mark, as our guest, you have to rate the movie first. 0 to 5 scale.
Oh, I have to rate it fine. I would rate it as a 5, but I'm a fan of Herschel Gordon Lewis's other work. If you're not familiar with this, if you're a modern horror film watcher, I put that caveat on it. I personally give it a 5 because I get a blast because I get it and going for it, and I enjoy really old horror films and seeing what they do on a micro budget. But so if you're curious at all, I would say first start with his earlier work before you watch Gore Girls. But otherwise, I give it a 5 as long as you just turn your brain off and watch the craziness.
So you're not recommending the Frozen short. You're recommending the earlier work of the guy who, as you've said, did mostly stag films. There's your review, kids.
Well, the Frozen
Work your way up to the movie where they cut off the nipples and the milk shoots out.
Well, the Frozen short had all the kids in the audience who were there for Coco falling asleep or going, when's Coco going to start? So That's not my review. That's the review of their target demographic.
Oh yeah, don't take kids who already have the greatest attention span in the world and put them in the theater saying we're here to see this movie. But just wait. It's all right. The anticipation is character building, child. No.
Granted, my boys are teenagers, but when we sat down, I sat there and go, oh yeah, guys, by the way, before Coco, there's a 22-minute short of Frozen. And when my oldest looked at me and he goes, I thought you loved us.
Yeah. Is this also when you tell us that we're not getting anything in the will, Dad? Because I feel like the impact would be lessened at this point.
Yes.
So there was also like 20 minutes of previews and commercials before.
Well, there was about 10 to 15 minutes of, usually we get about 10 minutes of previews beforehand. So so practically a half hour before the movie starts, you get all this other stuff in front of it. There's other places where there's more commercials than that before the film starts. Yeah. And there were a lot of people complaining about having the short in front of Coco as well.
Yeah.
Because
theater...
Coco isn't exactly a short movie either. So
yeah, the theater we go to is now up to like 10 minutes of commercials, 10 minutes of previews.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not the coolest thing in the world.
That's Marcus for you, though.
But a short before a movie, especially a Pixar movie, which are usually, well, this isn't Pixar, it's Disney, but still, those are usually considered extra value. The shorts, when you go to see something like Toy Story and you get a short for whatever before it, that's kind of important. Sometimes they would add in stuff extra at the end of the movie. They would do the outtakes. So you'd have to go back to the movie theater to see A Bug's Life a second time to see all the outtake stuff afterwards. That seems like it would normally be a selling point. It just feels like this short in particular was a misfire.
Right.
And for parents who are probably already burnt out on Frozen as it is, we're just like, yeah, I'm really going to start some shit about this.
Yeah. It was interesting not to see a normal Pixar type short in front of the Pixar film. I mean, you usually get some really cool film where there's very little dialogue or some kind of interesting take. Like they had, singing islands in front of one. I forgot which one it was. But then there was, the one with the dog, which actually I think won an Academy Award, which was a great one. I love that one. I mean, there's a lot of great shorts from Pixar's group that usually show in front of Pixar. So to have it do this instead is just like almost like Disney. Why? Well, why? You should have just left it to your Disney Channel special and put it on loop there.
Yeah, it's a little weird because it seems like it's something that probably should have landed much better, and I can see why the thought process was of putting it there. But back to this.
Yes, folks, we go from talking about Gore girls and nipples being cut off to children's movies and how they should not be.
Yep, it's par for the course.
I await the inevitable Pixar remake of Gore Girls. If it stars any of the cast of Cars, I think I'm going to be okay with it.
I want that to happen so bad.
Yeah. I'll tell you someday about my dream when I was a little kid about the classic Disney characters doing a rendition of Mice and Men. Anyway.
Corey, you have to rate this movie.
That shit happens to Daisy in the Barn. So I can't give this a lower score than either of Dave's movies. I just can't. It was far more enjoyable than anything he's brought to us. I'm actually going to give it a 2. I think Mark sold me a lot in your review and talking with you about it. Is that as it is bad. It is really bad, but there's something there to still enjoy about it. There's more than one thing to enjoy about it, and it's worth a watch at any rate if you can handle it.
I'm trying to rekindle the scores that we gave Dave's movies. Oh, they
usually zeros.
All got zeros. Yeah. Because I too cannot this movie was not worse than anything Davis made us watch. So I wanted to make sure that I was adhering to the higher than Dave movie scores. I'm gonna go with a 1.5. It's not great, but by no means is it terrible. It would definitely be something fun to get real drunk while watching with a bunch of friends. I would never sit down and watch this again, but if someone's looking for some cheesy, gory, not a whole lot going on, solid movie.
It definitely is a movie you want to put on. You could put even at a crazy horror party you're having or whatnot, and you could even have it in the background or something. You don't need it, to be focused too intently on it, but it is a fun one, more so with a group of friends. And if you have alcohol, yes, it takes the edge off.
Literally.
Like I said, I watched it this morning over breakfast with my wife before I sent her to work retail for the day. I feel like this is the right mood to send you out to work retail during the holiday season.
It is. If you guys don't mind, I would recommend you check out his Blood trilogy, especially 2000 Maniacs. 2000 Maniacs, I think you may get a kick out of. It's still a bit over the top, but as far as the story goes, it's got a little bit more to it. And it's one that is interesting because it's not as intimate, if you will. It doesn't involve just 2 or 3 people. It involves an entire town.
Well, the challenge would be to have you back.
Well,
that's true.
We would want you to come back and we would definitely watch 2000 Maniacs with you. The other thing that Erin, my wife, pointed out is that it's not far from it's sort of John Waters-esque.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a fan of John Waters movies. I love John Waters. I find him adorable in a Steve Buscemi kind of way, but I don't like his films in the least. His people are just fucking weird in his shit. But I could see the similarities in between this guy's stuff and what John Waters does.
And Herschel would probably consider that a compliment. So
yeah, or John Waters might consider it a compliment.
John Waters might too. It's one of those things where I like it because it comes from a period where people were just making films because they wanted to make them. You watch these films, you get the idea they know what they're making, and there's no real allusion to what they're making, unlike a lot of the indie stuff today where people think they're making the next great big franchise and they're going to get picked up and, this is going to launch my Hollywood career. This comes from that age where people are still figuring this stuff out. That's not a studio. And that's why I kind of like watching films from this era, the micro budget, low budget stuff. Cause these guys are just doing this to do it,
Yeah.
There's no real illusion to it and of what they're making. And there's an honesty to them, as grotesque as they are. Like you said, they're quaint. I find them entertaining because there seems to be just a little bit more honesty to it. And I'm not saying all the modern indie micro budget stuff is out there, but there's a lot more out there where people are making them and you're watching them going, okay, you're just pushing this too far, thinking you're being a lot more creative than you are.
It's like a kid who first learns to swear, and then they swear all the time. They sometimes swear wrong, but the creativity behind it is so amazing, which is basically a description of this entire podcast.
It's not wrong.
Now that I think about it, yeah, that's a joke grenade that just blew up in my hand. I agree, and we've had a couple of filmmakers on recently, Anthony and PJ, and that's exactly right. Is that they get to experiment and they get to do something fun. Our friends who do Karate Tortoise, that's exactly it. It's over the top. It's weird. It's funny. It's maybe not to everybody's humor or tastes, but getting that bravery out there of like, I'm not doing this sanitized by a production company, a big thing like Universal Pictures, or everybody's owned by Disney now. It's just, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this because I think it's fun, and people who dig on it will hopefully find it and enjoy it, and people who don't dig on it can just pass it on by.
Right. I mean, there's so much out there now, I think. And again, I'm not an expert by any means, but just from what I've seen, especially online, the growing culture of experts and film watchers and movie watchers in that, there seems to be a large group of individuals who think that a film should be made for everyone. And the minute it does something different, it turns them off because, well, that movie sucks. Well, why? Well, this and this. But you're like, but they did something different. Yeah, but I didn't like it. Okay, they still did something different. You cannot like something, and still appreciate the fact that they were trying something different. And I think some people have that mentality that if a film is being wide released, it should appeal to more people. It should appeal to everybody. When that's not the case, people do make stuff for specific demographics sometimes. And, like people, Bad Moms Christmas. Okay. I went to see it with my wife. I saw Bad Moms. I actually found some enjoyment in it because of the parental angle. Not so much relating to the female characters, but then I also have a crush on Mia Kunis, but that's beside the point. But we went to and Kristen Bell too. Yeah, the whole cast pretty much. But we went to see a Bad Moms Christmas, and while it wasn't a great film, the majority of the audience when we went to were females or guys who were there with their female other, their partner or whatnot. And we watched it, and the ladies were laughing and everything. Then you get online, and there's a whole bunch of like guys going, "Man, this movie sucks. This is the worst movie of the year." And I'm like, it wasn't meant for you.
Right. Yeah. You know what you get, guy? You get chips.
Yeah,
you get the Baywatch movie. That's so have fun with that. I haven't seen Bad Moms yet, but it's one of those things that I'm willing to check out. I haven't seen Chips yet either.
You're not missing much with Chips.
Oh, I'm sure I'm not. But Bad Moms, I'm at least interested in. First of all, because Catherine Hahn is fucking hilarious in everything.
Yes.
But just in general, it looks like it could be fun, and it looks more interesting to me than what was it, Daddy's Home with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. Like, I kind of know what I'm going to get with those two guys already, and I don't believe that it's breaking any new ground. But Bad Moms, at least there was something else to it that looked more interesting. Mm-hmm. And again, it doesn't have to service me. Not every movie has to service me.
Right. And I think a good chunk of the internet feels like movies should. And so you get movies like, and again, Gore Girls is the extreme case, but you get movies that, well, this movie sucked. Well, why? And you're like, well, I'm like, but it was not necessarily made for you.
Right.
You know, it's made for a specific audience. There's an audience out there, and now that we have so much access to so much, that audience can find their niche and, you know, go, oh, hey, I found this bulk of movies that I enjoy. And someone from the outside, they look at it and go, wow, that was stupid. Well, it wasn't made for you. You know.
Yeah. We did the first Soska Sisters movie, Dead Hooker in a Trunk.
Oh yeah,
a while ago,
Mhm.
and that movie impressed me all the time because of the choices that they would make in the story. It's like every time I think, oh well, now they're going to do this, they would do something completely just out of nowhere to me, and I thought, this is amazing. Like, how brave is this shit? Because they just like, this is what we decided we're going to do here, and it doesn't have to make sense to what you would expect from a plot in something like that. It just kept going further and further into other directions that you never would have thought of, and I thought that was great. So I like brave storytelling, and I like a good safe film. You know, you play a Love Actually once in a while. I'm gonna have fun with that. It's funny. A friend of mine posted, by the way, Love Actually, not the family holiday movie that you seem to remember it being. I'm like, oh yeah, all I want for Christmas is hardcore sex scenes. But
Yes,
that is
please.
kind of all I want for Christmas. But yeah, it is that thing of like, this is considered a beloved classic for so many people, and interspersed in it is just random shots of people banging.
Yeah,
as you do in your English Christmas movie.
yes.
So everything gets to be special when it wants to.
Mm.
Hey, so Mark, you say you're not an expert. I don't know what that makes us, but if you want to tell us what the hell that makes us, you can contact us by leaving us a voicemail at 805-328-3966. You can email us at pot@gncast.com or leave us a message on the website. And you can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're at Podcast of Terror, pretty much all those places. And you can subscribe to us via iTunes if Apple does that shit anymore, Stitcher, Google Play, or your favorite podcatcher. And leave us feedback wherever you want. Somehow or another, we assume people might still be listening. We don't know. It's hard to say. But we love you. We miss you. You should call us. Tell us Happy Christmas. All subscription options and links can be found at gncast.com/subscribe. And you can follow the network, Galactic Network, at Facebook.
Yeah, if you like using Amazon like the rest of America, go to amazon.podcastterror.com, shop as you normally would. We get a cut. Keeps this thing free. Then we don't have to shop for sponsors. Although, I can't prove how many downloads we have anymore. Fucking Apple. That's a personal vendetta, though. Mark, where can all the people find you and everything that you're doing and all these movies that you talk about?
Specialmarkproductions.com is where you can get most of your Movie Man needs. I have links for the podcast there, links to latest YouTube stuff. Occasionally I do an interview. Like I got a chance once again to talk to Catherine Mary Stewart from Last Starfighter, and that was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it was my second interview with her that I've done since I've been doing the podcasting, and that was a lot of fun.
Night of the Comet, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, the first time we talked to her about Last Starfighter. The most recent one, though, we talked to her about Night Flyers.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, we got to talk to her about Night Flyers, and there's some interesting stuff she talked about there, as well as, you know, showing an interest to try to be in the TV series Sci-Fi is developing with Martin writing. And so, yeah, it was a really cool interview. But stuff like that's up there. I've got an interview up there with Fred Olin Ray as well that I did from back in the day. He does a lot of cult. He's done a lot of low budget or cult films following his son Chris Olin Ray has followed in his footsteps, and he's still making films. He's done the Three-Headed Shark series, so and stuff like that. So yeah, there's interviews up there, stuff that I do there, as well as on my YouTube channel. And then occasionally you can hear me on great podcasts like this, as well as Astro Radio Z and written work on We Live Entertainment.
Corey?
Yeah, go to don'taskcomics.com. Check out the comics that I help publish for my friend Levi Krause, and sometimes I write some of them, sometimes I don't. Usually I don't. Sometimes I don't post because I get sick. But hey, it's a crapshoot. That's why content is free. Also support my wife. Go to store.hardhag.com And if you like seeing nipples getting sliced off, that is kind of my wife's artwork in a nutshell. I wish I was making that up.
That's awesome.
I'm not at all.
Yeah, he's
That's
not wrong.
awesome, man.
Not at all wrong. Anyways, you can find me Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped, Matt the Lifeguard. That's going to do it. Next week, we're going to be watching Volumes of Blood, which is one of the movies by previous guest PJ Starks.
Oh, cool.
Really looking forward to that one because
Yeah.
we don't have a guest. And then it's Christmas. And then we're taking a week off because it's the fucking holidays.
You need a week off.
Yeah.
You consider that. Matt's just gonna watch Santa's Sleigh on repeat the entire fucking time,
I'm going to go to Cleveland, Ohio.
which is the same thing.
Yeah, right.
Which
Almost
Volumes of
painful.
Blood is that you're watching?
The first one.
The first one, okay.
Yeah.
I got the chance to see a screener of the second one, actually. So,
Oh, nice.
Cool.
I really have no idea what I'm getting into, but he kind of sold it when he was on, so we decided to watch it.
Yeah, plus he's awesome.
Yeah, super nice guy.
I haven't seen the first one, but if it's anything like the second one, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy that one a lot more than you enjoyed Gore Girls.
That's not hard to do.
I know. Great, man.
Awesome. Mark, thanks again for coming.
You bet. Thank you for having me on, gentlemen.
That's going to do it for another episode of the Podcast Dare. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Stay scared, everybody.
I